we live? All right, we're live, everyone. Welcome to the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Evans, a.k.a. Starting Park Car here. And hopefully we're back for a full episode today. My camera is refreshed, so hopefully we won't have any screw-ups like last week. But welcome, everyone, to today's show. We're going to be reviewing this past Sunday's combo race, the 7th race of the ARCA Menard Series E season, and the 15th race of the ARCA Menard Series main division, one of their combo races, as the E Series is starting to wrap up its season. And the main division is, wow, I can't believe we're already 3/4 away through the season. So the ARCA season, unfortunately, is starting to come to a close, which sucks. It's been a good year. I think it's been a good year, but it's been very dominated. That's for sure. You guys might notice I'm not in my usual setup. My dad is using the office chair. He'll be done in a minute, so you guys might see him pass behind me. However, I'm still in the office. You guys might notice, for the people of longtime listeners, I have a Carl Long door. Well, I have a BJ McLeod Cup door. And actually, if you can see, my diecast collection is all behind me. So this is our little office toy room. But yeah, I figured I would show off a new part of the office for the podcast tonight. Anyway, enough of me rambling. I'm going to go through my little intro, and we will jump right into Milwaukee. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media, Starting Parker on Twitter for all news and notes and tweets. We are less than 50 followers away from 6,000 followers on there, so go give me a follow if you like what you see. We are less than 40 subscribers away from 2,000, so if you like what you see on this podcast, please give us a subscribe and a like to the video. Helps it get out there. And, of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR media-related content, and Super Chats are open if you'd like to financially support the show. So, enough rambling. Let's get into Milwaukee. Unfortunately, not much to talk about with Milwaukee. I don't know what it is with this track. I liked the Milwaukee Mile as a kid. I thought all the Busch nationwide races there were fun. I thought the truck races there were fun. But I'll admit, guys, I don't know how you guys feel in the chat. Ever since ARCA's returned to the track in 2021, it's just not been good. To me, the racing has just not been very good. I do think car counts definitely hurt that to an extent. The track looks fun as hell to drive on. I mean, I've heard nothing but great things from drivers about how much fun the track is to drive. The pavement's worn out. They say that the new pavement on the bottom is actually looser than the old pavement just because of how it's aged. No doubt it looks like it's a fun track to drive on, but man, it just has not really produced, what I would personally call good racing. All 4 years have been dominated by the 18 team. That even including that 1 year where it was KBM, even though it was really just JGR in disguise. And I think that just goes down to the Joe Gibbs Racing having years and years of notes from the Busch Series and Xfinity's then nationwide days at Milwaukee. I think you take all those years of notes that they had, and they're able to just transfer that to today's cars because, I mean, let's face it, even though the bodies are different, the chassis are probably the same. And, yeah, realistically, man, it's just – especially running a fresher motors every week than anyone else, it's just so hard to beat them. It really is. But we did have a decent car count for this race. I believe it is the biggest since we have come back to Milwaukee, which that in itself is a plus. Again, car count. Just the fact that car counts have been up this year at almost every race is a huge plus. But yeah, ever since the series returned to the track in 2021, we had 24 in 2021. We actually had 28, I guess, in 2022. So this is a slight down. I guess when you compare, we had 23 in 2023 and then 24 in 2024. So who knows? We might have 25 in 2025. Although, if reports are to be believed, the truck series has been confirmed, especially with today's schedule being announced, that they are not running Milwaukee. You got to tend to believe that ARCA more than likely will not be at Milwaukee next year. Now, of course, we do not have the schedule yet, so we cannot 100% confirm that, but I can't see, even though ARCA did run standalone there originally with the crowd they got, which was dismal back in those standalone days. I mean, the 2021 and 2022 crowds, there was lucky if there was 3,000 or 4,000 people there. Even last Sunday's crowd, man, was pretty bad. There was lucky if there was maybe 5,000 or 6,000 total, maybe just a few more than that. But yeah, crowd sizes for sure. And I just can't see the series going all the way up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin as a standalone race. That really is asking a lot out of those ARCA teams. But yeah, the notable entries for this race, obviously with this being an East Series combo event, you did have a couple of extra entries. Connor Zilisch, obviously full-time ARCA East regular. Lawless Allen, he was a new ad. Again, loved the fact that Rayom is getting this ARCA program up and running, and it's actually doing fairly well. Gio Ruggiero, obviously the full-time East regular for Venturini. Marco Andretti was back. Good to see him back after a couple races off, driving for Bruce Cook. Zachary Tinkle, of course, in the 11, which means Cody Dennison was moved to the 10. DL Wilson in the 39. Tyler Tomasi in the 93, the Caleb Costner team coming back. Andrew Patterson for Man Motorsports. Ryan Roulette was back in the 12. Nate Muller again in the 06. Rita Goulet returns since this is an East race and she's in the 31. And Brian Clubb returned. Alex's dad returned for another start in the 86. So yeah, like I said, one of the weird 2-day shows for ARCA. I don't really understand why this is a 2-day show. They practice and qualify on Saturday, and then they race on Sunday. Now, I'd like to think that's because the ARCA series runs early on Sunday. They literally ran at noon, and maybe they just probably couldn't get tech, practice, qualifying, and it all done before noon. So they turned it into a 2-day show, which to an extent I get. I do. But also, Milwaukee has lights. Or unless they took the lights down. I don't know if anyone in the Milwaukee area, did they keep the lights still there? Because if the lights are still at Milwaukee, I'm not sure why we're not running the truck race at night. Milwaukee always ran better at night. Aesthetically, it looked better at night. So realistically, we could have done this all in one day. We really could have. With ARCA running maybe in the middle of the day, and then you could have the truck series going on at night, and you could have had all the practice and qualifying runs in the morning. So realistically, this could have been a 1-day show, because financially for ARCA teams, man, a 2-day show, those extra hotel bills and travel costs, not, and especially in this economy, not ideal. Definitely not ideal. So, but we get to the practice results, and, like we kind of predicted, I didn't get to talk about it last week because my camera died, but William Sawalich was going to be my pick. I did not think anybody was going to beat that 18 car, just simply of how strong that car really is, man. Like I said, fresh probably close, if not a 1 to 2 race or a fresh motor. Who knows how many races they had on the motor? We can never know for sure. That's private information for the team only. We can only just kind of speculate, but more than likely it's a fresh motor. I mean, come on, it's either freshly rebuilt, or it's got just maybe a couple of races on it. The Ilmore rebuild, I think, is around 1,500 miles. I don't think the 18 team would ever run an Ilmore motor that had over 1,000 miles on it. I think that you can bet that for sure. The 18 team will never run a motor that has over 1,000 miles on it, for Ilmore at least. They never will. I can never see them doing that. So, but yeah, just with the technology and the advancements they have, I mean, he was 4/10 quicker than Connor Zilisch. And we know how good and how fast Connor Zilisch is. So for Williams Sawalich to be that much faster than him, especially on 10-lap runs and even on 5-lap runs, I mean, that car was hooked up. Gio Ruggiero was third. They've kind of been the big three this year, even though Gio really hasn't had the success I think that a lot of people thought he would have. Chris Wright, when he's not wrecking people. By the way, shout out to Alex Clubb for running a decal that's like, if you've been wrecked by Chris Wright, call this number, like 1-800-CRASH-WRIGHT. It was a great decal, hilarious. Unfortunately, ARCA made him take it off, which not shocking. ARCA doesn't really like that stuff, and I can understand it. But he is selling shirts. He is selling shirts of that. So if you want a shirt that says 1-800-CRASH Chris Wright, something like that, go find Alex Clubb or the Club Racing Twitter account. You can get yours ordered. I thought that was kind of funny. Andres Perez de Lara, again, the championship leader, he was 5th. LeVar Scott 6th. Dean Thompson, again, just a random race for him in the 55. Lawless Allen 8th. Tony Bridinger 9th. Unfortunately for her practice ended early as she backed it into the wall. Luckily, no real significant damage. Didn't even need a backup car. I'm not even sure if they needed a new tail panel. Otherwise, they maybe would just hammered it back out. But either way, good for Tony. Didn't necessarily need a backup car. I'm sure Venturini probably always brings one just in case, but you don't want to use it. Other regulars that were outside of the top 10, Christian Rose 11th, Amber Balkin 12th. And I think that was it. Dennison was down in 17th and Club was down in 20th. 23 of the 24 cars took a time. Unfortunately for the 86 of Brian Club, they would not make a lap the entire weekend. Brian never made it. I mean, he made it on track for the pace laps, but the car never fired. Apparently, it was a battery issue, a bad battery on the 86, and Club not having a spare battery. Unfortunately, the car, and I think they only found it out after the car would not fire for pace laps. That's what was wrong. They obviously didn't have a backup battery. So that's why the 86 car never actually started the race, because what was told to me by the spotter is, they're trying to get Brian approval rate up. He ran Elko, and that was a small track. That was a very, very small track, one of the smallest on the main ARCA circuit. Well, Milwaukee's a 1 mile track. So they wanted to run that race to help get Brian's approval up, to maybe run some bigger tracks. So they were actually going to keep Brian out there as long as possible. So he probably still would have pulled in early, but he probably wasn't going to run like 3 laps. He was going to run a good chunk of the race to help get his approval up. So it's actually kind of a shame that the car would just not fire and they had a battery issue, because now I'm not sure what they're going to do for Brian's approval rate. Will they let him run Toledo? They might, because sometimes ARC officials can be kind of sticky on that, because they don't want inexperienced people in the last race, which I can understand to an extent. Especially considering that we only have a road course, a dirt track, a 1.5 mile, and then a short track is the rest of our season. But that's what happened to Brian Club. That's what I'm just trying to mention. That's what happened to Brian Club. And the same thing can go for Rita Goulet as well. They had a mechanical issue. She only got 2 laps in practice. This was supposed to be a full race effort for her as they run, Tim Goulet. Her husband loves Milwaukee. He wants to run Milwaukee. I feel bad that he might not get to run Milwaukee. I hope he does one day, because, again, Tim Goulet works his ass off. Rise Motorsports, they work their asses off. But I don't know exactly what happened to them, too. In Facebook posts, I couldn't find exactly what happened to the car. People were saying maybe a clutch issue. They've been having issues with their clutch ever since they had a couple of broken ones from Mid-Ohio. So maybe there was an issue there, because they only got a couple laps in practice, and Rita literally got 1 lap in the race before she pulled off. So unfortunately, for 2 cars that were actually going to run more than 0 and 1 laps, they literally only got 0 and 1 lap because of issues. So that's just to clarify those issues, that those guys, they didn't, Brian didn't run 0 laps. He actually had a mechanical problem, and the 31 was going to run more laps, and she had a mechanical problem. And you can't help mechanical problems. But yeah, going back to practice, and then qualifying came along, and man, William Sawalich, you think he went fast in practice, and he goes out there and just demolishes his practice lap by 0.2 of a second, and nearly breaks into the 28-second category, a 29.002. 3 1,000ths away from breaking into the 28-second category and an ARCA card. Now, that tells you, man, how hooked up this 18 car was. And even compared to Connor Zilisch, he bested his practice time, and he was still 3.5 off. Lawless Allen, he was the big shocker of qualifying. He ended up 3rd. Lawless Allen qualified 3rd. Really goes to show you, man, that Rayom and that team have really stepped up their ARCA program. And I really do feel like these ARCA starts are actually benefiting Lawless in terms of improving his racecraft and just getting more track time. Like I said, with these 20-minute practice sessions in trucks, Lawless came in right when they started doing that. I mean, heck, in 2021, they didn't really have practice sessions. I don't think they had practice sessions for only a few races when Lawless came in full-time in 2021. Or wait, no, that was 2022. That's right. I think he ran part-time in 2021. But my point stands, he didn't have a lot of track time in trucks because he only had the 20-minute practice session. So running these ARCA races is actually pretty beneficial for him. And it shows on the speed charts. Because he outran both Rev Racing cars and all 5 Venturini cars. That in itself is accomplishment for Josh Realm's little team, because when you really think about it, Josh Realm is not a big team. He isn't. He's what you would classify as the lower budget underdog organization. So for him going out there and doing that really goes to show you how much Realm Brothers Racing has improved. And it's so welcome to see, because as we know, they had that major shot fire a little over a year and a half ago, and it ruined everything, all the good stuff that Josh had gotten. And they just kind of had to piece together last season. So I'm so happy for Josh. So happy for Lawless. Unfortunately, some mechanical issues in the race did not give him the finish he deserved, but we'll go over that in a second. Other notables, Andres Preslar was 4th. Gio was 5th. Again, Gio was just really shocking to see Gio only 5th. And that's weird to say, like, oh, only 5th quickest. But I think we talked about this earlier in the season. It was the 18 and the 20 car last year with Jesse Love. And to see the 20 only 5th quickest and not even, over almost a second off of what the 18 ran, it just shocks me, man. Really thought Gio was going to be more of a contender for the E-Series championship, man. Dean Thompson was 6th. Chris Wright was 7th. LeVar Scott 8th. Amber Balkin 9th. Christian Rose was 10th. Again, 3 cars did not make a qualifying run. Obviously, Tony Breidinger due to the practice crash. And then Rita and Brian with their mechanical problems. So we get to race day on Sunday. And like I said, man, I didn't know really what to expect. Like I said, the last couple of Milwaukee races hadn't honestly been all that good. So I was kind of curious what we were going to get today. I knew we were going to have a couple of cars pulling early, but I didn't know what we were going to get. And unfortunately, we kind of got exactly what I predicted. I'm not sure. I'm not kind of sure what you guys personally predicted, but we kind of got exactly what I predicted. And what that was, not much. William Sawalich got the jump on Connor Zilisch and pulled away. And when, he didn't pull away by a lot. He pulled away probably by about a second, and he could kind of stabilize that gap of about 1 to 2 seconds. But the one thing that, you would notice is that these guys are pulling away from 3rd. And they're pulling away from 3rd by a huge margin. Huge margin. But nothing's happening. The 18 is, he's running his laps. The 28 is running as hard as he can, trying to catch him. And they just kind of stabilized with lap times. One lap, the 18 would be a little quicker. The one lap, the 28 would be a little quicker. But it was never really enough for them to close on each other. The 18 appeared to have some long run speed more than the 28 car, it felt like. And, 3rd place on back, Lawless, he was holding a strong 3rd, and he was just kind of riding too. I mean, it's like it just kind of felt like that after about 10 to 15 laps, the top 10 had just kind of settled in to where they were, and there wasn't a whole lot. There was some mixing up in the middle of the pack. It was really kind of the cars at the back of the field that were doing all the battling, you could say. Like the fast track cars, mixing it up with the Costner entries and the Man Motorsports entry. Those guys, they were the ones really mixing it up, trading spots lap after lap. I think, from what people were in the grandstands were saying, the best battle through the entire race was Cody Dennison versus Zachary Tinkle, 2 of the Andy Hillenberg entries, because those cars, were so similar. And the drivers, they were just racing each other so hard, having fun together. And a lot of people said that was probably the best battle of the entire race. So, but yeah, nothing's really happening. And then we have our first caution of the race, 46 laps in. And the 20 of Gio Ruggiero has a flat right front tire. No damage. Tire just went down. I can only imagine that the aggressive camber setups that they were probably running maybe made the tire go flat, unless he just ran over something. But I would have to imagine it was maybe an aggressive camber setup, because as you guys, you can clearly see it on the television. You can clearly see it as day on the television. The Venturini cars, the 18 car, all the guys at the front of the field run very, very aggressive camber setups on the front tires. So it wouldn't shock me if the camber setups mixed with the tire wear just got too much and the right front went down. But luckily for Gio, he got his caution. He did fall lap down, but he would get the free pass at the break. But yeah, definitely if Gio was already behind in the East Championship battle, and this did him no favors. So we get back going green again. And again, the 28, he can hang with William on the start, but Williams just got that corner speed, man. He's got that launch off of 2 on the bottom, and the 28 just can't hang. And it was just kind of a repeat on every restart. We ran 12 laps before Tony Breidinger. She would stop in turn 4. Again, it was a long weekend for Tony, I should say. She had a long weekend. It was a long weekend for both of the Venturini ladies. Amber Balkan, she had it felt like she was just having mechanical problems the entire race. And yeah, like I said, for poor Tony, it was a long race for both of the Venturini ladies. That was kind of an understatement, but nonetheless, they got her car going. And then we get to the halfway break, and it's like, man, we are already at the halfway break. I've got my list of notes. I usually keep a Google document of notes for the race, so I can, and I usually have it here on my phone. So whenever you guys see me look down, I'm looking at my notes, by the way. When you guys see me look down or like see my arm moving and tapping, I'm looking at my notes, by the way. And I literally have no notes because I can just remember what happened off the top of my head because not much happened. So, so yeah, we get to the halfway break, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, maybe if he can get out front, the 28 can get, the clean air can work, but I don't see it, man. We've seen it when the 18 gets behind him, he has a hard time getting past Connor, but man, with the way that 18 would corner, even compared to the 28, I just didn't see it, man. So we had our 2 cautions for the Venturini cars in the halfway break. It was unfortunate during this time, Lawless Allen's engine started to go sour. Now, I was worried like, oh, man, don't blow up. Don't take this good run away from Lawless and the team. And it looked like it was maybe just a plug wire down. They thought they were like maybe down a cylinder. They had this issue at Michigan as well. It looked like they were just down on power, but then I think they got it fixed because Frankie's lap times improved at Michigan. And the same thing here is, although his Lawless's lap times fell, they got better after the break. Oh, sorry. No, it was right. Tony didn't stop on track. She got spun by Christian Rose. Thank you guys for correcting me in the chat. Sorry, I kind of completely forgot that moment. Yeah, that's right. Christian Rose spun the 25, and there was actually a slight post-race confrontation that I believe Front Stretch captured that. And just keep your eye on that as we go into the next races, the 32 and the 25, because yeah, Tony was not very happy with getting taken out like that. And you could say, it could say it was an accident. It was a racing deal. Who knows? Who knows? Well, we get back from the scheduled break, and Connor Zilisch actually beat William Sawalich when they restarted the race after the break. So he got credited with leading that lap. And then they came around, and he's holding his own on the outside, and he actually led 2 laps. Unfortunately, the 18 of William Sawalich, knowing he was on fresh tires, threw it into turn 1. And he threw that car into turn 1. It stuck. Connor Zilisch forced to go high, and William takes the lead. And honestly, that was pretty much all she wrote. Then, Connor, he could kind of get back to about a second or 2, but then he would fall back, and then he would close, and then he would fall back, and it just kind of stabilized. Yeah. Tony said, you got something between me and you now. So, yeah, if you're Christian Rose, watch out for yourself at the next couple races, I guess. But, yeah, honestly, not much happened after that restart. Like I said, the 28, he tried, man. That was Connor Zilisch's best chance. He tried. But that 18 just got out front, and, man, they were murdering the rest of the field. By the time the white flag hit, they were literally catching. They had lapped up all the way up to the top 5. They were literally rounding the corner and catching Lawless Allen, Chris Wright, and LeVar Scott. They had lapped Andres Perez de Lara with a couple laps to go. Your point leader, might I add. Your point leader. And in the distance, you could literally see LeVar, Chris Wright, and Lawless Allen. Had that race gone another 10 laps, you would have had 2 cars on the lead lap. Had the 28 of had the 28 of Connor Zilisch not been in this race, and that race was another 10 laps, William Sawalich would have lapped the field. I mean, that's how dominant we're talking here, folks. Had the 28 car not been in the field, and we probably had 10 more laps of green flag racing, the 18 of William Sawalich would have legitimately lapped the field. I mean, that is unbelievable domination right there. Absolute unbelievable domination. We give this 18 team a lot of flack sometimes, but at the end of the day, they're just doing their job. I mean, yeah, they say the cars are cheated up. That's racing. Dale Jr. loves that stuff. It's ingenuity. I don't mind them. And if they are cheated up, so what? It's racing. You find the advantage. They might win all the time and it might get a little annoying, but so what? It happens. Is it a little annoying? Yes. Yes, it is. And I got friends on the 18 team who I say hi to every time I'm in the ARCA garage. But it is annoying seeing them win every week. I'm not going to lie. It is. But what am I going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Nothing. We just got to accept it. What else? What do you want me to do? What do you want the series to do? I don't know. I don't know what you guys want me to do. I don't know. What do you want ARCA to do? I don't know. It's not their fault they have the money to spend on, swapping out motors and getting rebuilds quicker than everyone else. It's not their fault. If they can find someone to pay for it, do it. So, I understood the outrage online, but it's like, what do you want them to do? I can't say anything about it. Is it annoying? Yes. Yes, it is. But hey, you get what you pay for, I guess. You wanted to buy a winning ride, you get a winning ride. So, yeah, William Sawalich wins. In terms of the East Series, I believe this is his second or third East win of 2024. I think it's his second East win because he won Nashville. Yeah, because of the 3 standalones, Gio won Pensacola, William won Nashville, and then Connor won Flat Rock. Okay, so that's right. So this was Williams' second East win of 2024, and his 7th win of 2024 for William Sawalich in the main division. So that means 8 wins. Yes, 8 win. Wait, you have to add in the West Series win at Portland. So that's 9, right? I think that's 9 wins on the year for William Sawalich in the 18 car, if I did my math right. 7 main series, 1 East standalone, and then the West Series victory at Portland. So, yeah, that's 9 wins this season for William Sawalich in the 18 car. Hard to believe it's not more. I mean, he's ran up front every week, but the 28's just been so dominant. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, guys, like I said, it's amazing to think if the 28 had not been in the field, what William could have done. The 28 was 4.6 seconds behind. Again, there was just nothing Connor could do. He drove his heart out. He learned a lot, and that's the most important thing. He learned a lot. LeVar Scott was third. Again, a great run by him. He's been steadily outrunning his teammate almost every race now. And, for Chris Wright, for all the crap we give him, you got to give the man his flowers when he actually runs good for once. 4th place for him. Lawless Allen, despite the motor issues, still hang on for a top 5. Lawless Allen was the highlight of the race for me with how good he ran in practice, qualifying in the race itself. Andres Perez de Lara, 6th. Dean Thompson, like I said, very quiet. 7th place, he was just kind of there. Christian Rose, 8th. Gio down in 9th. That was kind of shocking. Marco Andretti down in 10th. Tony Breidinger, 11th. Zachary Tinkle, 12th. Cody Dennison, 13th. D.L. Wilson, 14th. Tyler Tomasi, 15th. Andrew Patterson, 16th. Ryan Roulette, 17th. Michael Maples, 18th. Alex Clubb, 19th. By the way, that was the same car that Alex Clubb wrecked at Springfield. So for him to get that car repaired, bring it to Milwaukee, and actually finish the race, good effort by him. Fortunately for Amber Balkan, she had several mechanical problems throughout the race and eventually retired after 87 laps, finishing 20th. Nate Muller and Brad Smith were starting parks. Nate ran 52 laps before pulling off. Brad ran 13 before pulling off. And as we mentioned in the beginning, Rita Goulet and Brian Clubb had mechanical problems, which prevented them from really doing anything in the race. So, unfortunately, we try to be fair on this show. Some people are like, oh, this guy, he loves everything about in ARCA is good. And I'm like, I try to be fair on this show. When it's bad, it's bad. When it's good, it's good. I try to be very fair on this show. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. This was the worst ARCA race of the season. By far. And that includes E-Series standalones. I enjoyed Flat Rock more than this. I enjoyed Nashville more than this. Mainly due to Isabella Robusto. She was fun to watch in that race. This was the worst ARCA race of the season. And I hate saying that. Unfortunately, you're going to have that. And unfortunately, Milwaukee has arguably had the worst race every year since 2021. I think out of 600 laps, 561 of them. And just to put this into perspective, in the 600 laps that the ARCA Menard Series has ran since returning to Milwaukee, 561 of those have been led by the 18 car. Led by the 18 car. That is an unbelievable statistic. So 4 straight wins for the 18 with 3 different drivers. Like I said, Ty Gibbs in 2021, Sammy Smith in 2022. Then the last 2 years, of course, William Sawalich. Yeah, this was not good, not very fun to watch. Like I said, the best part of the whole race was Lawless Alan. I try to be fair, guys. I know I don't like to be negative on the show, but you gotta call it down the line. When it's good, it's good. When it's okay, and then sometimes you just have those bad races. You do, and unfortunately, the last couple years, ever since the return, Milwaukee has unfortunately fallen into that bad category. It's a beautiful facility. I'm so glad that Milwaukee's back. I mean, I don't think people realize the track was practically abandoned, only like 5 or 6 years ago. You can go back and find images of the track sitting dormant. They were not doing anything with it, and the track looks really good. The facility still looks, really nice. Like it could host, an Xfinity race. Maybe not a cup race, but an Xfinity race, truck race, ARCA race, IndyCar race. It could still do a lot of business, but the crowds aren't showing up and the race hasn't been very good, man. So if the truck series isn't coming back, I'll be personally surprised if this track comes back in 2025. Personally, in my opinion, it looks very fun to drive. I am not taking that away. Milwaukee looks really, really fun to drive. But in my personal opinion, I won't be happy. I won't be happy. I won't be sad if Milwaukee is not up the schedule next year. And I hate saying that, but after what we've seen the last 4 years, I don't think we personally need it back in 2025. I think we can find a more suitable short track or another road course or a big track, whatever they want to do to replace Milwaukee. In my opinion, it doesn't need to come back because I give this race, and I think a fair every race always at minimum gets a 1 just for happening. I don't think you can ever call a race 0 out of 10. It gets a 1 for happening, and then you can add points if anything happens. I give this race a 2.5 out of 10. An honest grade, I feel like for this race is a 2.5 out of 10. 1 point for the race happening and a 1.5 for Lawless Alan because that was fun. That was fun seeing the Rayom car and Lawless running so competitive. And the battle between Cody Dennison and Zachary Tinkle. 2 fast track cars racing the crap out of each other. That was fun too. And that's kind of it. And it's not, and again, none of this is a knock against William Sawalich. The guy's just doing his job. This is not a knock against the JGR ARCA team. They're just doing their job. It's just a matter of who can spend more. Who can spend more? That's really what it comes down to, man. It's not a knock against anyone. It's just, I don't feel like they have to spend 7 figures to win an ARCA Owners Championship or spend 7 figures in an ARCA season. That's not really what ARCA was made for, to spend 7 figures, but that's just kind of how we are now, where, to win an ARCA and you want to win the Drivers' Championship and the Owners' Championship, yeah, you got to pay 7 figures to probably win those championships. That's just how it is now. There's nothing we can really do to change it. And I've accepted that. It is what it is. So, but congratulations to the 18 team. We're going to go over the point standings. Following this race, we'll start up with the East standings. The East Series, of course, 8 races. This is their 7th race of the year. We have our finale at Bristol. That race is going to be a lot of fun. There is scheduled to be almost a complete 40-car field for that race. I am very, very excited for Bristol. A lot of interest in that race. Connor Zilisch leads the points. Obviously, with William Sawalich winning this race, getting the most bonus points, claimed to lead up a little bit, but it's still 16 points, and that is very crucial, man. Very crucial. William Sawalich, they want this E-Series championship, man. That's what they really pay for, because William can't go after the main series title, so they go after the East title. And, Sammy Smith, he won 2 in a row, 2021 and 2022, right? Yeah. So they want William to do the same 2 years in a row. But it's going to be close this time. Connor Zilisch, Shane Huffman, they're going to be very, very tough to beat at Bristol. William Sawalich is 16 points back, unfortunately, for Gio Ruggiero. We can ride him off. I mean, that's shocking to say. But 43 points behind, we can officially say Gio does not have any chances at the ARCA Menard Series East Championship. The owner standings for the East Series, if I can get them to come up here, yep. The Mark Webb 28 car. Pinnacle Racing Group car. Same thing, 16 points over the Joe Gibbs 18 car. So that's going to be a fun battle going into Bristol. Again, for the E-Series Championship. Remember, top 5 go to the banquet. So right now, that top 5 battle is going to be very hotly contested with Cody Dennison and D.L. Wilson. 7 points. 7 points separate those two gentlemen. Top 5 go to the banquet. 6th place does not. So for Cody Dennison, I know how much he told me he wants to go to that banquet. So Bristol is going to be a definite different one for him. That's for sure, especially for his first time going there. The main series results right now, Andres Perez de Lara, at this rate, we can give him the championship. A 46-point lead over LeVar Scott. 66-point lead for 66-point gap to Chris Wright. Christian Rose is minus 99. Tony Breidinger is minus 99. Christian Rose minus 95. Tony Breidinger minus 99. Amber Balkin minus 124. Cody Dennison minus 170. Michael Maples minus 171. Greg Van Al is still in the top 10 despite only running a few more races this season. And 9th, Alex Clubb in 10th. Just to give you an insight, William Sawalich is 11th in points despite missing 5 races. So that's kind of funny. But again, like we've been saying on the last couple of shows, for the sake of his championship legitimacy, I really hope Andres can somehow win a race. I hope one of the full-time regulars for ARCA this season can win a race. It's to me, everyone's like, oh, Jesse Love had the easiest championship win last year. And you know what? Maybe he did. But at least he went out there and won 10 races. Andres Perez de Lara, he's had his consistency. He's won a couple poles. He's got 13 top 10s, 7 top 5s. There's no doubt about his consistency. He's got an average finish of 6.1. He's got 12 lead lap finishes. I mean, he's had a very consistent season. But the problem is that when you're not winning and you're not really leading any laps, I mean, he's only led 19 laps this season. His teammate LeVar Scott has led more laps than him. LeVar Scott is actually the only guy so far this season to complete over 2,000 laps. So yeah, LeVar Scott is actually the one who's really had the more consistent season, not in terms of top 10 finishes, but in terms of laps completed. But yeah, just for the sake of his championship, man, I really do hope that Andres can win a race. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I hope he can, because I'll tell you, if he doesn't, I don't know how much you can really say this championship's legitimate. And is that a knock against Andres Perez de Lara? No, I don't even think it's not a knock against the Rev team. like I said, Chevy support. It's just so hard to beat the Toyota teams. It is. It's just so hard to beat them. And it's not like they're not giving it their all. They are. Andres and, LeVar, they're giving it everything they got every single week. The 18 team and, something like the Venerini cars or like they're just that much better sometimes. The 2018, they're just that much better. And it encourages them to be better. Like I said, it's not a knack on Rev at all. It's just sometimes there are teams, no matter how hard you try, there's just some teams that are better than you. And again, I got friends who work for Rev. I want to see them have success. I hope LeVar or Andres can win before the season's over, but I don't know, man. And I hope we can see at least one of the full-time regulars, not just, Andres or LeVar, any of the full-time regulars win before the season is over. But yeah, did not expect to take 40 minutes on Milwaukee because frankly didn't deserve 40 minutes, but here we are. We now transition over to Duquoin, our second of the dirt races in the ARCA Menard Series calendar. Our traditional 2 stops at the dirt track. Springfield was a couple weeks ago. We are now going to Duquoin, the second dirt track, obviously the Duquoin State Fairgrounds. And my favorite part about this dirt track compared to Springfield, this race is run at night. Love dirt races at night, especially 1 mile dirt tracks. That's a beautiful, beautiful dirt track. Southern Illinois 100. And we got a decent car count. We got a very decent car count. The biggest car count for a race at Duquoin since, I believe, 2017 or 2018, man. So how about that? 24 cars. Did not expect it, especially after how car counts at the dirt tracks have very struggled. But we will go through the car counts from the very top as seen on the entry list. So we'll start up with the 0 of Nate Muller. Peterson is not actually fielding 2 of his own cars. We'll get to that when we get down to the 06. This car is the only actual Peterson entry. The 0 of Nate Muller, they are running the Rusty entry, the Ford, mainly probably because the main car, Kathy, something exploded on that car back at Springfield, so that car is not going to be running for a while. Andres Perez de Lara in the 2. Good to see Quarterman, Dale Quarterly, back in the 4. Obviously driving the same car that he bought from Bill Hendren and Ryan Unzinger, the car that won this race back in 2022, might I add. LeVar Scott in the 6. Eric Caudell, great to see him back in the 7. Sean Core, of course, running the 2 dirt races in the 8. Dalen Hairston, he's making his debut in the 10. And shout out to my buddy Nick's making them's crew chief debut. I'm not, is it them's crew chief debut? I don't know, but Nick's is one of my good friends. Really awesome person. Them is a tire specialist on whichever car they put them on. But yeah, shout out to Nick's for the crew chief gig. Cody Dennison in 11 on the 11 this week. Tim Monroe, good to see Tim back. I believe he's still running his own car. He actually bought a car to run in ARCA, so good to see Tim back. Chris Wright in the 15. Kelly Kovsky, of course, the Allgaier Motorsports team. They only run the 2 dirt races every year. Hoping Kelly can finally get that win, man. I want Kelly to win very, very badly. So I'm pulling for him. William Sawalich. We actually came to find out William Sawalich was running an old Athenian Motorsports car with a motor purchased from MDM Motorsports. The car that won at Springfield was an old John West Townley Athenian Motorsports car, which is not uncommon for teams to use older cars for the dirt races. That's actually quite common, even for the higher teams. And the motor was even quite old too, which really shows you how impressive that ride was considering how old the car was. But he's got some stiff competition despite not running there. Brent Cruz is back in the 20. So William Sawalich definitely has got some competition. Amber Balk in the 22. Tony Breidinger in the 25. Brayton Laster, the pizza man, he's back in the 31. Christian Rose in the 32. Good old Brad Smith in the 48. Taylor Reimer, she's back in the 55. Once again, great to see her again. She had a top 3 finish at Springfield. Will Kimmel, great to see Will Kimmel back in the 69. Brian Clubb in the 86. 99 of Michael Maples. The 03 of Alex Clubb. And the 06 of Austin Vaughn. Now, as I mentioned before, This 06 entry is not a Peterson Motorsports car. It is actually a car that I believe maybe Austin's family owns. Austin Vaughn has been running in Bob Schatz's Grand National Super Series, which is kind of a run what you bring oval type series, an old, Hooters Pro Cup cars. I don't not necessarily late models, but like old Hooters Pro Cup cars, old stock cars. You guys might see my dad walk in the frame right there. Coca-Cola product placement. It's kind of Bob's run what you bring series. And a guy by the name of Larry Wilcox runs in the series. Larry's been in the series for many years. He runs the 66 in that series. And lately, Austin Vaughn has been running his car to get approved for ARCA. We did get approved, and they are making their debut at the dirt track. This is their car. It's listed under Larry Wilcox Racing. They're just using Peterson's number. So Peterson's actually only running one car under his own operation, but technically two cars helping out field the 06. In terms of starting parks, I would imagine the 48 will obviously be one. The 86 will probably be one as well. The 0, kind of hard to tell. The 06 was supposed to run. Nate was actually supposed to run the whole race at Springfield. So who knows? Maybe both Peterson cars will actually go the distance at Duquoin. Now, the one thing that Duquoin has been known for is the terrible track prep. And it's mainly due to the cars that run beforehand. I'm not sure if it's the dirt modifieds, or I don't think it's late models. I think it's dirt modifieds or something. There's some sort of dirt series that is going to be there with ARCA, and they usually tear up the track. And the last couple years that ARCA's ran, it has been absolute chaos. Never forget in 2021 when we literally had 6 cars finish. And in 2021, we literally had 6 cars finish because everybody kept overheating and tearing up their car. I remember in 2021, Taylor Gray finished top 5 with a hole in his windshield and a broken tire rod, and his right front tire was going that way, was going to the right, and he still finished top 5. That was such a weird race. But yeah, Duquoin's been kind of known for not the best track prep. So hopefully the track itself will be in decent shape here. But I don't know. We didn't predict the William Sawalich Masterclass at Springfield. That was for sure. That was shocking. That was very shocking. But with Brent Cruz in the field, I can easily tell you guys right now, my pick for the race is Brent Cruz. I'm going with him to win the race. I think Venturini finally gets another win this year. Brent Cruz dominated Springfield last year. So I think he gets the win. My underdog pick, I'm going with another Venturini driver as my underdog pick. I'm going with Taylor Reimer as my underdog pick. I think that would be badass to see a woman in victory lane, especially a very beautiful badass in Taylor. Very beautiful badass in Taylor. Would love to see her go to victory lane. So my picks for this weekend, winner's pick and dark horse pick, are both Venturini drivers. But yeah, and like I said, for starting parks, I think maybe 3 or 4. So we'll probably have a good 20 cars running the distance. But yeah, like I said, hopefully track prep's good. There's no guarantee of that. Never count out Will Kimmel. Finished second here in last year's race to Jesse Love. So I guess he could be an underdog as well. They're bringing the good short track car to they're actually bringing the same car from Salem to Duquoin. So who knows? Maybe that car will get a victory. That's running an old legacy motor as well. So, but you never know. You got guys like Kelly Kovsky in the field. You got Sean Corr in the field. You never know what they could do. I would love to make it out to one of these ARCA dirt track races. They look so much fun. A lot of my friends were at Springfield. They had a blast. So I'd love sometime to be able to make it out to one of the dirt races. I've kind of hard to tell. Some people like Duquoin more than Springfield. Some people like Springfield more than Duquoin. Kind of just matters on who you ask in the garage as well. So yeah, that's Duquoin. It is actually going to be run during the Southern 500. It's kind of weird. The Cup race at Darlington, they kind of run during the Southern 500, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It is televised. I believe it'll be on FS1 or FS2, one of those stations. But yeah, it is run in conjunction with the Southern 500. So If you want to watch the Cup race and the ARCA race, try to get your Cup race on the TV and get your phone out and watch the ARCA race, because I think it's going to be fun. These dirt races are usually quite unpredictable. But yeah, in terms of the payouts for this race, I mean, it's kind of the same as usual. $1,000 for last place, $6,000 for the winner. Like I think 13 or 14,000 with contingency awards. But you know, the payout debate, that's beating a dead horse. There's no sense in discussing that. But yeah, so it's going to be a fun race on this Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, pick for the race is Brent Cruz. Underdog pick is Taylor Reimer. And so yeah, that is Duquoin, man, and it's going to be fun. If you can tune into it, I would recommend it. It is a lot of fun. We're not done just yet, folks. One thing I did want to talk about before we got out of here was the 2025 schedule. Now, obviously the official ARCA Menard Series 2025 schedule has not been released. It'll be released probably later this season. They always release it late, but we can kind of make a couple announcements. The ARCA Hell Tour will not be back next year. Apparently that was told to the teams at Springfield, which was a collective sigh of relief. So that's good. No more ARCA Hell Tour, which is the 2 races in 3 days, which I still can't believe that actually happened. And I think it's safe to say that, we have some conjunction events that usually happen. So I think it's safe to say that, for the following races like Daytona weekend, the first weekend in February with the main series and West Series combo, the first Kansas date in May, that will probably happen. Charlotte, of course, Iowa, they'll probably be back with Iowa next year. IRP when they go to Indianapolis, Dover, I think Dover has already been confirmed back again. Portland, for the West Series, when obviously Xfinity goes back to Portland, Bristol, the Phoenix Fall date. So I think there's already quite a few races we can confirm for next year that even haven't been announced, just because you can assume that they're going to come back. But like I said, will Milwaukee be back? That remains to be seen. I think we should replace that with another track. I'm sure the ARCA Menard Series main schedule will stay relatively the same. You might see a couple of dates fluctuate. After the disaster that was Mid-Ohio this year, I would not expect Mid-Ohio to come back next year for ARCA. They were a standalone date, and yeah, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare at Mid-Ohio. I mean, just talk to the teams and drivers. There were multiple haulers that got stuck in the infield after the race because they decided to park the haulers on like mud, gravel. And unsurprisingly, the haulers sank into the ground. So if I had to guess, we're probably going to Lime Rock. The Truck Series has been announced for Lime Rock. I would have to guess that the ARCA Series will join them there because the Truck Series probably won't run all by themselves. I think that would be a perfect track for the ARCA Series to go to, considering that the East Series, the old K&N East Series, back when it was the Camping World East Series, they ran Lime Rock for a couple years. I think the last time they ran Lime Rock was late 2000s, early 2010s. So they're not totally unfamiliar with that track. It would not shock me if they go back to Lime Rock next year. I think that would be a great replacement for Mid-Ohio. And it's unclear right now if they're also going to go back to Watkins Glen. I've heard from a couple of ARCA friends, they are not sure if Watkins Glen will also be back on the schedule next year. But thought I would just talk about that for a brief moment, mention the schedule for a little bit. That it might look a little different, but probably going to stay relatively the same. But obviously, when we have the schedule announcements, we will do a podcast about it. When that comes out, I don't know. So, yeah, this remains to be seen. But just wanted to clarify that for a second, guys. My last ARCA race of the season will be Kansas, of course. So if you are coming out to Kansas, I'll be on the 48 car. Come say hi to me. I always enjoy meeting fans of the show, fans of the Twitter account, and just fans of Brad Smith in general. If you're in the Kansas area, come see me. Come say hi to the ARCA teams. We love the attention. We're not going to turn away a fan in the ARCA garage area. We love the fans in the ARCA garage area. We do. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. I got to go nag my father, talk to him about cars because he's very annoyed when I talk to him about cars. So I'm going to go do that. You guys have a good rest of your Thursday night. I will see you all maybe next Tuesday if the entry list comes out. If not, we'll be back here next Thursday. So you guys have a good rest of your night. I'm Colby Evans. I'm starting Park Car. I give you all the goodbye salute, and I'm signing off. Goodbye, guys.